Our next speaker is Steven Dhondt, senior researcher at TNO and also visiting professor at the University of Leuven. He will tell us something about the perspective on blockchain in the human capital agenda. Please.
Put it to work. Blockchain technology offers unforeseen possibilities for development and better use of human capital. And the better use of human capital is a core and central topic in the Dutch industrial and digital strategy. More and smart workers are needed to make our companies more competitive in this world. And at TNO, we're at the core of this strategy. For this presentation, the outcome is that I'm going to describe some contours of an action agenda of these new and unforeseen possibilities in using the blockchain for support of human capital. I want to touch three subjects. First, looking at block certs as an application. Secondly, looking at some questions of human capital, only some because it's such a large subject. And thirdly, I want to connect blockchain technology, developments in it, and human capital, and generate some suggestions for development of an agenda in the education field. But let me first start with a question. Who of you have heard ever of block certs? Who has heard of block certs? So, not so many. So the level of knowledge about blockchain is quite limited here. Okay, because I had written down you have considerable knowledge of blockchain, but I have to correct that. But later on, there's another presentation. The presenters of Learning Machine will be able to introduce you into the technology of block certs, so I won't spend any time on it. Sorry. But if we look at the current blockchain developments and investments in education, and then our focus on this block certs technology, then we see that we are mainly interested into something which is called digital self-sovereignty applications. In plain Dutch, een digitaal document waar je als persoon zelf volledig baas over bent. This is an interesting development in itself. With such an application, you give individuals control on their own certifications and documents. And I understand that it is important to offer individuals this kind of control on their own information. And it helps them to prove their competences. My father, for example, when he was 23 years old, he moved to Australia because he was building as an engineer, as a textiles engineer, a weaving mill. And in those days, when he left from Europe, it took more than a month with a boat to get there. And as you can say, you're taking your diplomas with you. This is something you want to protect. So he was lucky that it was only his baggage with his clothes that was stolen, because otherwise he couldn't prove that he had these degrees. So I can understand that applications such as block certs now are important means for individuals to prove their competences. And from my family, we can sympathize with all these economic migrants coming to Europe, and applications such as block certs is really helpful for them to show what they're worth. But I do have some questions about this kind of technology and this kind of development direction in what we're doing with blockchain. Some diplomas are limited in time. How do you bring that into a block certs technology? And should you limit this application to major diplomas? A lot of project management certifications are limited in time too. So how do you bring that onto a block certs? You could register all the things that medical specialists are doing each year. They need to keep their big certifications up to date. And you could register that also onto blockchain. These are just mainly practical questions. More fundamental now is the following questions. Are all societal questions with education now covered with such a blockchain solution? So let me now turn to questions about human capital. And I don't have time to tackle all kinds of subjects, but I'm merely going to focus on one dimension. So what are we doing in the Netherlands with the human capital development? We see some things which Croft just showed us. And we're investing a lot into these human capital agendas in each of these top sectors, into lifelong learning, into more support for technology studies. And the aim is to bring a greater influx of more technical students into digital studies. And the means is by giving information to parents, to students, but also more money to educational facilities, as the University of Groningen, for example, in developing new and more attractive programs. But a question to all of you. Who of you has a technical or IT background? Yeah? And who of you with a IT and technical background, hands up, is still in an IT technical job? So you see, there's a lot of investments that we're doing into technical studies, but they get lost over time. So is all of this a good thing? One of my observations in the past with all these investments into trying to attract talent to technical studies is that a lot of these technicians tend to get fixed up into non-technical jobs or not technical companies. So is that what we want? My question is, how effective are all these human capital investments? In practice, we don't really know. We have little information about effectiveness of studies in education or on the pay situation of these technicians, but we're taking multi-million euros investments and investment decisions, and we don't have this feeling. And here, I think that the blockchain can help. Digital self-sovereignty gives the user control and grip on his own information, on his own certificates, and that's very nice. But we need at least two more directions if we want to get more insight about the effectiveness of human capital investments and investments into blockchain to support that, as well at the level of companies, educational institutes, or at the level of a country. And the first direction would be how to understand what is collected on the blockchain. Can we somehow copy this information on BlockCert into a data set and analyze that? As far as I know, this is impossible because the only thing that's registered onto in this case, the Bitcoin, is a hash. You can't do any information on this. But of course, educational data is individual and private, and we need to respect privacy. But there are new methods in blockchain technology development in which you can use the blockchain as a key to data. We do not necessarily need the interesting information on diplomas and certificates itself on the blockchain, but we can use the blockchain to get access to external databases in which we collect in a privacy-guarded way information about educational achievements. The second direction would be to incite and motivate users to make more use of their own registrations and information on the blockchain, and maybe connect that to statistics. We are seeing more and more use of ResearchGate, academia.edu, LinkedIn, and a lot of these companies are earning money on the fact that you're putting your registrations on these systems. So why not find ways to tokenize this kind of value and give money back to the users? Or the effort you do to keep your own records up to date, pay for work. Tokenization as a blockchain method helps the user to gain money from own input. So not only sovereignty, but also monetize your own input. And get engaged to improve insights about the effectiveness of what your educational institute is doing or has done with you and is doing with your follow-up students. At TNO, we are looking at the possible uses of blockchain technology. This afternoon, we will demonstrate a Hyperledger blockchain application in the food industry, and we know that we can transfer these ideas into what is going on in the educational field, guaranteeing at the same time security and privacy of individuals, and also connecting with the possibility to create an experiment on an Ethereum-based application with smart contracts and tokens. The end result is, as I hope and expect, that blockchain technology can help the development of human capital in the Netherlands. The current development road for blockchain should, however, be broadened than it is at this moment. So we should have more focus on statistics, not only on regulating access to one's own certificates, and we should also try to develop more engagement by users of such applications to use the information and to help enrich it. And maybe there are even more uses of this kind of information we need to find out. Blockchain applications offer unexpected possibilities for learning. And we're only at the start of this development path. And we at TNO and at the Catholic University of Leuven, I can say that we're quite excited to engage with all of you in this new development field. Thank you.